Dad.
Hi, Leva. You want to say hi? I'm making a video.
Real?
Every man has a turning point. A day, a season, or a specific moment when the chaos he is living in finally became too loud to ignore. A moment when he finally had to choose a different path. Maybe you found it in your career, maybe in your marriage, or maybe in a moment of crisis. For me, that moment didn't happen on a mountaintop. It happened when the noise in my life stopped and the quiet truth finally broke through. Welcome to The Turning Point in Me. I'm your host, Jacob Sommers. Hello. This podcast is for the ordinary man and woman, father, mother, and American citizen. We're here to share the messy real-life stories of men and women who have faced the void, run the wrong way, and ultimately found Jesus Christ right in the middle of their chaos. We're talking faith, and we're talking parenting, and we're talking about what it means to be an American today. For this first episode, I'm the guest. I want to establish the premise by sharing the turning point that forced me to start this show. My story starts in DuPage County, Illinois. I was born in 1988, the middle child raised with an older brother and a younger sister. God wasn't the focal point in our house. We weren't a Bible-reading family. In fact, my brother and I went to Sunday Christian school for a little while when we were young, and it ended up getting kicked out pretty quickly after. We were always really defiant. I think the biggest religious influence in our family was my dad, who went to a Catholic school with the nuns, and he remembers rulers smacking him. But my sister, she went to a Catholic middle and high school. My parents decided to do that for her, and that gave her a very strong foundation. For me, I'd always check the box agnostic. Never really praying intentionally unless I was scared, and even then, there wasn't a whole lot of belief behind it. I was living with a void. Now, Jesus tried to intervene in my life. I remember one instance in my high school years. As a teenager, I was trying to see this girl who was a church-going girl. She was Christian, and I was already hanging out with bad people, doing bad stuff, doing dumb things. And not that they were bad, we were just doing dumb stuff. And I would wake up on Sunday early to go to church and try to catch her eye contact. Her parents wouldn't let me see her. And then I would go to her Sunday church classes, and we'd be in Bible studies together. That's how I was able to see her. But at that time, the darkness looked better than the light. I was trying to have more fun. I was trying to just be something I wasn't. And that was an example of a time that Jesus intervened in my life. At 16, my family moved from Palatine, Illinois to Santa Clarita, California. This was the winter of 2005. I finished high school in a completely different school, environment, and culture. I was given many chances to start over, but I kept repeating the same patterns. And then I met my wife. I met her at a bar in August of 2017. We were casually smoking cigarettes outside. That's just how you smoke cigarettes, casually. And a few minutes later, I walked inside after her, and she was seated at the first bar seat on this alley bar. As I walked in, she turned to me, almost expecting me to walk in, and she goes, I don't normally do this, but you're beautiful. Caught me off guard, but I consider that day the first day we started dating. We've been together ever since, and we've been through a lot of crap. I've caused a lot of crap. She's caused very little of it. There was always a cause to our unhappiness. I felt that void in my life for so long, and it didn't dawn on me that I was actually running away from Jesus Christ in all of these wrong turns. I just kept running away from Jesus Christ this whole time. So, where is my actual turning point? It happened in two powerful interconnected stages. The first stage was in my family, and the second was in my identity as an American. I felt God in a way I never had the day my daughter was born, August 26, 2023. But I still didn't step into his light. I was checking the agnostics box when I should have been believing in and acting in Christianity the whole time. Can you describe the feeling of holding her, the spiritual weight, and why you didn't step into the light right then? Yeah. Holding my daughter, when my daughter was born, my life changed, And one major song when she was born really hit me hard. It was the opening song to The Lion King. And the sunlight falls on the planet, and Scooby-Dooby-Doo-Dooby-Doo. I'm more of a tone member, not so much of a lyric member. And that song changed. It just gave me a whole new sense of meaning, and I kept crying, and I was never really much of a crier before, but just the emotional feeling of being a parent, encapsulated and captivated, and all those capital words. I'm so thankful. I'm just very, very thankful to be a parent. I mentioned the crap that Heather and I went through. That's my fiance's name, Heather. And the unhappiness in our marriage. I call it our marriage, but we're still engaged. And how did the relationship with my fiance/wife start to change when we finally began to realize that the true cause in our unhappiness was the lack of faith? It started with me. I think I noticed right away that there was something missing, and for Jesus Christ, in all of my learnings up until I'm 37, so all of my learnings of trying to run away from Jesus, I'm just trying to be a good person. Don't most religions have similar, building blocks? And Christianity is the only one that doesn't put anybody away from each other. I think it brings people together. I think Christianity, from what I've learned, is just loving. It doesn't separate people. It doesn't say one person's less than the other. It says we're all in likeness of God, and we should all follow in his path. We'll all fall short of it, but we should all try. And that's the only religion that made sense to me. Yeah, that gives me the truth that I've been looking for in this world that we don't know what the truth is and we can't figure it out. And I watch Fox News, and you keep watching all these different, legacy medias, but then you reach out to all these different podcasts, and then you just keep diving into. And I live in St. Cloud, Minnesota, so everybody's aware of what's going on here, and it's so disheartening and upsetting. And you don't want to be discriminatory, but it's just nature. 9/11 created that, and, World War II created that. Just all these major conflicts tear us further apart. And I think we all know it's important that we stop. It's got to stop. This is one little avenue that we can come together in. My view of purpose and identity changed dramatically a few months later. Not a few months later, sorry. My daughter was born in 23. My next big change was in 2025, 2025. The loss of Charlie was a major catalyst for me. Why did that event, after seeing his focus on faith above all else, make me realize that more voices were needed to be heard to fight the evil in this world? Well, after you lose a major voice that inspired, motivated, loved, brought the conversation to the front page of major topics, of things that we should be speaking about, and then losing him in such a drastic way, with so much hatred and evil behind it. That's why the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Meaning the loudest one in the room gets heard. But there's nothing stronger than the voice of God. I decided that day that I could not remain silent or agnostic anymore. I needed to add my voice, God's voice, to the conversation. I lived in Chicago. I lived in LA, now settled in St. Cloud. How has the nomadic experience shaped my view and what it means to be an engaged American today? And what principles am I teaching my daughter? The golden rules: treat others as you want to be treated. Jumping into Christianity, some of those major ones: the abortion, gay marriage. I'm blanking on some of the other major ones. I still believe that love is love, and marriage is between loves. I also believe that it's a biblical, your marriage is biblical. It's Christian thing. So I'm working through that one. Abortion, Charlie changed my world in abortion. And obvious, as a man, I was never able to be very opinionated. My brother, on the other hand, he likes to, I don't want to call him out, but other people don't see the bad in it. And I've always felt sad when it's happened. So, yeah, life starts in conception. Thank you, Charlie. Life starts at conception. The truth is that there is nothing around it. It is the truth. There's no point at which it's from not okay to okay to okay. Like, you can't say this week, that week, this episode, that month. It's like it's at conception. We're all aware. Some of the other viewpoints, I want to make sure that my daughter has self-esteem, that she has not just the faith of her family, not the strength of her father and mother behind her, but of somebody who's always going to be there, no matter what, in thick and thin, every time she needs them. And he's just going to be loving. They're just going to be, I want her to have that building block. I want her to have Christianity. My major journey from Defiance in DuPage County to settling in St. Cloud is a roadmap of running from Christ and then finally to Him. I've transitioned from checking the box agnostic to believing and acting in Christianity. What does the active faith look like for me in a daily life of husband and fatherhood? First, I started with little acts of reading the Bible. Bible in 365. Eric Kirk. James Cadiz. E and the Team. Then I started praying at meals. Then I started sending out the daily encouragements that I get from the daily readings to all my closest friends and families. And that list is growing by the day. People are always asking me for, not always, but more people are asking to be a part of that list. And I learned that from Charlie. Thinking, praying about everything, believing in my prayers, using prayer as a tool to help me, to center myself, to remind me that I'm not in it alone. I don't have to carry all the weight on my own. I can give it to God. I can work with God. God can work through me. Here I am, Lord. Use me. My story, like every man's, is messy and imperfect. But the clarity, the turning point, is real. And that's the conversation we need to have. I hope by telling you about my story, maybe you feel open to telling yours. I'd be happy to read it for you if you send it my way, or we could have the conversation over the phone or in person. I really am inviting everybody to include themselves in this podcast, in this conversation. I want to ask the same questions to each guest, but every guest will be different. So we'll get so many different perspectives. The 3 pillars of this podcast are faith, family, and America. I know it says fatherhood. I'll be speaking to a lot of fathers. Faith, family, and being an American. What it is to be an American. Next week, we bring up my wife. We're going to be diving deep into each 3 of those pillars. You'll get to understand our family dynamic more, who I am, who she is, and you won't want to miss that. So thank you for joining me in this podcast. Thank you for taking the time. I look forward to each episode from here on out. I look forward to meeting you, knowing who you are, knowing your story, reading it, or meeting you. Please subscribe if you like, and God bless you.
Say bye, Dada.
Bye, Dada.
Say lunch will be ready.
What do you want?
Nailed it.